government has increased the wait between ordering cylinders from 21 to 25 days to try to control supplies. But concerns are reportedly fueling black market sales. India depends on imports for about 60% of its LPG needs, and most of this comes from the Middle East. But with shipping through the Strait of Hormuz disrupted by the Iran conflict, the government has invoked emergency measures, giving priority to gas supplies for households over industry. As a result, this 70-year-old restaurant in Mumbai is one of many feeling the heat from the conflict. It hasn't received any LPG cylinders in a few days, and its gas has almost run out. The brothers who own the restaurant have cut their menu in half and turned to electric stoves, but they're costly to run.
Of course, we are worried about the business. We are worried about it. No, we have the 15 staff here. They are also dependent on us.
India is ramping up domestic production of LPG and seeking alternative import sources. But with supplies under pressure as the Middle East war escalates, both households and businesses are braced for impact. Rebecca Bunzin, Al Jazeera, Mumbai.
Hezbollah in Iran carried out their first coordinated attack on Israel on Wednesday. It's prompted speculation that Yemen's Houthis could also get involved in this conflict. They have previously carried out strikes in the region in support of Iran. Yusuf Mari reports from Sana'a.
On the streets of Sana'a, people are going about their daily lives, seemingly unaffected by the conflict in the region. Some tell us they don't want war, but war always seems to find Yemen. Mirshid Hassan agrees, but he says his biggest concern is not the threat of strikes from above, but the threat of more US-backed sanctions.
We care greatly for our nation. We are not afraid of war, but fear the consequences of war, such as economic blockade and having limited access to basic necessities.
We asked Mirshid if he is considering moving to a safer location.
If we moved every time we hear of a potential war, we would be moving every other day. I know many people who still live in homes that have been destroyed by previous airstrikes. In any case, the US and Israeli are known to target everyone and anyone, wherever and whenever.
And now, the possibility of war may be closer than he thinks. Members of Ansar Allah, also known as the Houthis, have expressed their willingness to strike US and Israeli assets in the region in support of Iran. Such a move could be significant. The group has previously demonstrated advanced capabilities, including launching hypersonic missiles that have reached Tel Aviv. The armed group does not need to fire a missile at US military bases to enter the war. Instead, they can resume a blockade on all US and Israeli ships in the Red Sea. It would likely be considered an act of war, one they have carried out in previous conflicts. For many Yemenis, like Mirshid and his family, this means being prepared and stocking up on supplies. Yusuf Maudi, Al Jazeera, Sana'a.
For years, Lebanon was a refuge for Syrians fleeing conflict, but now Lebanon is struggling to find shelter for the hundreds of thousands of people who've been displaced by the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. Thousands of Syrians are now crossing the border back to their home country. Ubaida Hito met one family at the Arida border crossing on the Syria-Lebanon border.
The bridge connecting Lebanon and Syria at the Arida crossing has become a bottleneck. Like many other people, Amal fled fighting in Syria in 2015, only to return with her children as Israel intensifies its war in Lebanon.
We barely made it out of there alive. I told the kids to hold each other's hands and not let go and kept walking.
The Syrian government says more than 80,000 Syrians have fled Lebanon to Syria through one of 3 land crossings since the U.S. war on Iran started on February 28. According to the UN, 43%. According to the UN, 43% of the returning refugees are children.
I want to go back to Syria to study. We can't live in Lebanon. We work so hard and for nothing. Then a few days ago, we heard the sounds of rockets and we decided to come back. We were scared.
Israel's attacks on Lebanon have made thousands of Syrians refugees for a second time. And they're returning to a country that's still trying to rebuild after more than a decade of its own war. In 2024, Israeli airstrikes damaged the bridges between the two countries. But the Aurida crossing reopened on Sunday, fast-tracked by fighting in Lebanon. Amal decided to flee with her children by foot with only what they could carry.
I didn't flee from one war to get stuck in another war. Syria is the most beautiful place. We're so happy to be back. There's no better feeling than to be safe in your own country.
After negotiating a taxi and a bus ride to Homs, Amal is exhausted.
I finally made it from Lebanon. To Syria. I'm so happy, even though it was so tiring. It's a miracle we made it. Now I'll go from Homs to Qamishli. Nobody likes war. War is scary and ugly, especially if you have kids. You're always worried about them.
Amal and her family are only at the start of their journey. They still have 600 kilometers to go to reach a home they barely know. Obayda Hito, Al Jazeera, the Syria-Lebanon border.
Let's take a look at some of the other global stories making headlines. Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel says officials have held talks with the U.S. government over Washington's oil blockade. The island nation relies heavily on energy imports, particularly from Venezuela and Mexico. The Trump administration has cut off shipments from Venezuela and threatened tariffs on any country that sells oil to Havana. No fuel shipments have reached Cuba in 3 months, deepening an already severe economic crisis. Officials say dwindling reserves are making the national electrical grid increasingly unstable. Ukraine has struck one of the largest crude oil hubs in Russia. A large fire broke out at the Tikhoretsk oil depot located in the south. Russian officials say that fire has now been extinguished. The hub is a major oil transshipment and pumping station supplying Russia's southern regions and Black Sea exports. The Afghan government has accused Pakistan of targeting civilian homes in overnight airstrikes. A spokesman says military aircraft bombed Kabul and the southern province of Kandahar, killing women and children. It's the latest flare-up in months of hostilities between the neighbours. Pakistan says Afghanistan supports armed groups that carry out attacks on its territory, an accusation Kabul denies. The Netherlands and Iceland have joined South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Both countries submitted arguments on the case, which accuses Israel of committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. Iceland and the Netherlands say that forced displacement and harm to children could be significant factors in the case. In Ethiopia, more than 100 people have been killed in landslides triggered by days of heavy rain. Regional officials say they happened in several areas of the Gamo zone earlier this week. At least 50 people are missing. Rescue teams and volunteers are searching for survivors. Drought has pushed entire communities in northern Kenya to the brink. Repeated failed rainy seasons have wiped out livestock, their main source of livelihood. With traditional water sources drying up, the government is now turning to vast underground aquifers that remain largely untapped. Catherine Soy reports from Turkana County in northern Kenya.
People in the village of Kainama say they've not received humanitarian aid this year. They thought we were bringing food. Many say their goats and sheep have died after successive prolonged droughts in Turkana County. An elder leads a community in prayer, asking for rain.
We are suffering from hunger. We don't have water. Our livestock have died. We have nothing. We used to burn charcoal, but there are no trees anymore to do that.
This woman shows us what they rely on for food: wild berries with little nutritional value. They take us to their only source of water. It's drying up. Hundreds of people, along with their livestock, share this well. The women come from different villages and they walk for several kilometers to get to this watering point. And sometimes there's no water, so they have to wait. The water itself is quite dirty. Veronica Akalapatan and her neighbors say they've been here for hours.
Once we get here, we dig up the water from the well. We collect fruit. We wait for the water to fill the well. We take turns to fetch it because there's so little. There are many of us, and sometimes we fight over it.
But hundreds of meters underground are multiple aquifers, layers of rock and soil containing water, and the government is hoping to tap into these sources. The largest was discovered in 2013. It covers roughly 5,000 kilometers and holds about 250 trillion liters of water. But much of the water is salty and expensive to purify. So the project has stalled.
So the big challenge there is salinity. There are studies that are now currently ongoing for both the Napu Aquifer and Lotikipi Aquifer. The interest of this kind of study is to map areas of maybe freshwater occurrence and then very saline zones.
It's a rainy season in Kenya. Turkana is unlikely to receive much. But when it does rain, there is joy all around. Still, people here know such moments are fleeting. Back in Kainama, Veronica finally returns home. She's managed to collect 20 liters of water for the day. It's barely enough for everyone. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera, Kainama, Northern Kenya.
A former rapper looks set to become the next Prime Minister of Nepal. His party won a sweeping majority in last week's general elections. Balendra Shah's party secured 182 seats in the 275-member lower house of parliament. Shah is just 35 years old and previously served as the mayor of Kathmandu. That's it from me, Marlene Saeed. Cyril Vanier will be here in just a moment with more of our continuing coverage.
As the war on Iran escalates, Al Jazeera's correspondents are on the ground.
This is the first time that President Trump has spoken publicly live.
We projected 4 to 5 weeks.
All the while insisting that the United States has plenty of weapons left.
We have only just begun.
Still, he's not ruling out sending U.S. troops into Iran.
We expect to take additional losses.
Today we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action.
That is a price Americans say they do not want repeated.
Stay with Al Jazeera for the latest developments.
One headline, then another. The story shifts. A word changes. An image reframes. The narrative moves faster than the facts. Who directs the turn and who benefits from it? The listening post slows things down to question, unpick, and understand how and why the story changed on Al Jazeera.